as always, by our in-house barrister, Adana. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ruth.
Nice of you to be here in the studio
Same
today.
here.
Well, today we have all shades of black. Yeah, I'm
But
saying
there's
it.
a white.
Okay, if you're joining Probono Chambers for the first time, you are welcome. It's a large house that we have here, so there's room for you. Don't feel like you're a latecomer. There's plenty of room for you. All you have to do is sit in and listen in and enjoy. And if you have any question that has to do with any legal matter at all, this is the right place for you. It's Pro Bono, and we provide professional legal advice for you for free. I am not, obviously, I'm not the barrister here, so that's why we have her. So she will be the one to give you all of those beautiful and professional advice as you may need them. But for starters this morning, we have something really interesting we want to discuss, and it's all about parenting and child custody. I was almost forgetting that. Parenting and child custody. It looks like Barrister Adana has a lot to explain to us today, okay, because she knows how she does her thing. So first of all, let's look at parenting. Yeah, let's look at parenting.
First, we'll have to tell us who a child is. According to the provision of the African Charter on the Welfare of a Child and the Child Rights Act 2003, a child is one who it's somebody who is below the age of 18. So that's who a child is.
Okay.
So if you're below the age of 18 and you're somewhere listening to us now, just know that you're a child.
Why do you have to say that? So that
That's
the person was really feeling like
and then
a
you
child.
need to also sit up and listen to us this morning. However, parenting concerns promoting and supporting the physical, the intellectual, social development of a child's well-being too. The child custody means where is a process where there's a decree or a law order that is standing to give someone legal authority to make decisions on behalf of a child. That is what child custody means. So
Okay.
it basically doesn't concern, you being the biological parents of that child.
Okay. Did you just finish, all the explanation? I thought it was going to take like forever. I mean, parenting and child custody.
No, we can expand it.
Yeah, we should really, especially, I mean, I want us to go back to parenting.
Yeah,
In
parenting.
simpler terms, what it entails if, whatever your actions, what kind of actions toward a child will amount to you parenting, being like a parent to that child. What are those things expected, yeah?
What is expected of you as a parent of a child is basically supporting and promoting whatever concerns the child, whether it's social, whether it's intellectual, whether it's physical,
Feeding,
shelter, all of
medical
that.
care.
All of it, all medical care, anything that concerns, that is to the best interest of a child from infancy to adulthood. So parenting would not basically mean that you are the biological parent of a child. So you just have the ability or you have the privilege to take care of that child from infancy to adulthood.
So whether it's mentally, whether it's physically,
Exactly.
anything that just make the child
That
feel
concerns
protected.
development of the child, yes. That is what parenting is about. Child custody, it's where you have legal rights certified by the orders of the courts or judgment of the courts to grant you custody, to give you the ability to make decisions for this child. So it's
So if you are a biological parent, I don't see you going to request for custody. Something will have to happen before
you go for custody of a child.
Okay.
Yes.
So what kind of situation will require somebody going to the courts to gain custody of a child?
Where the parents who are biologically attached to that child decide to separate from each other, and one person wants to take responsibility in parenting that child, there'll be a need for them to go to court in order to obtain the legal custody of the child. Where the parents of the child, of an existing child, it's no longer in view, then whoever it's related to that child or whoever wants to show concern in the needs and maintenance of that child, has to go to the court to take full responsibility of the child, and then you're going there to obtain the legal right, the legal authority to take care of that child. Another instance is where the parents of the child is alive but cannot take responsibility for that child. You would need to go to the courts to assume custody.
That's basically like financial or
financial,
emotional?
Security, emotional, whatever the case may be, but they're incapable of taking care of the child. Then there'll be a need for you to go to the courts to obtain legal custody of the child, to take care of all the basic needs that the child would need to develop.
What
to
if they're
adulthood.
relatives? I mean, maybe they're sisters or brothers to the parents of this child. I mean,
there'll be a need to obtain legal custody. Yes,
but there's blood ties.
It doesn't matter. It just protects you.
Okay.
It protects you. You're not the parents of the child. So if you have to take the responsibility of the parents, then you assume custody from the court of law.
Because in Nigeria, I mean, I'm just thinking my sister can decide, okay, come and take this one, train this one.
It happens really well in Nigeria. People don't do that.
It's so easy, yeah.
They just share responsibilities among themselves. You see, except if it's temporary, your child can go to your sister's house to be there for a period of time. But if it's going to be permanent, there's a need for you to go to the courts and obtain proper legal custody of that child.
So what happens if it means if you've not been to the court to obtain this legal custody
and the child is in your position?
Yes, and maybe the parent decides, okay, I want my child back.
Then you have to give them back their child. You don't have any rights over that child.
Well, as long as they're not going to call the police on me, no problem. Whenever they feel like changing their mind, they will come and pick their child.
Oh, Ruth.
Okay.
You need to be properly guided.
Okay. Nice. So, keep guiding on.
All right, then. This morning we'll talk about, more on parenting and child custody and what's obtainable in Nigeria. Also in our legislation, the provisions of law that guide us as Nigerians. In the Nigerian society, it is perceived that the custody of children, there's a presumption, that the custody of children, it's solely to the father. That's because they believe every child born, it's for a father. And then in most of the customary laws, fathers are always privileged when there is any matter concerning the custody of children. And though this is not universal, it's not applicable in all spheres of custom, and it's not obtainable in the Matrimonial Causes Act. That's the statutory provision for marriages and custody of children too. So I'll give instances where such cases are obtainable. For instance, in the Sharia law, the mother assumes custody of children where the need arises. In the Yoruba customary law, the mother assumes custody of the female children, whereas the father assumes custody of the male children.
Why that disparity?
I don't know. But then in the Igbo society where I come from, the father is privileged to assume the custody of the children, except where there are instances established that will prove otherwise, by the mother of the children.
Okay, for the Sharia law, you said the mother gets the opportunity.
Yes.
For the Yoruba, the mother gets to only get the females while the husband takes the male.
Yeah.
Now, for the Igbo law, just it goes to the father.
Yeah, it goes to the father.
What happens to the woman?
The woman won't have to. Have to have
what about the age of these children? Does it in any way define who gets custody of the child at a particular time? The age of the child, is it a determining factor?
Yeah, the age of the child is a determining factor. That is generally where the child is an infant, a baby, or maybe not a baby but an infant. They consider the mother taking full responsibility of the child as to the child's well-being, but then the father's support will also be needed. However, most of the issues concerning custody of a child, it's it's determinant on the type of marriage or the kind of marriage that were instituted by these adults. So if it's customary, and then the customary rights for consecrating the marriage were fully complied with, then the customary law can come to play in the issue of custody of a child. However, if it wasn't complied with, then the custody of the children would be given to the mother, except, or in some instances, it would be given to the father. There's no strict law for who assumes custody of a child. But then if it's a marriage that is contracted under the Matrimonial Causes Act, where the persons were married under a marriage registry, or in and outside Nigeria, or they were married by an officer that has the license to conduct a marriage, then the parties would have to get custody of children via the court of law, and then they have to follow the statutory provisions for custody of children. However, there are instances that court would look at and not consider granting custody of a child to either of the parents. One is where a person who is trying to claim the custody of a child, it's perceived with evidences to be a drug addict or violent in nature, or where the person is it's a religious zealot, has some delusional ideas and really abusive in nature. There are also instances, whether it's a female or a male. Yeah, they also consider if the parent, any of the parents who is trying to claim the custody of a child, has the capacity to maintain the child or cater for the needs of the child without the courts granting maintenance orders. This is where
you need to like break
it down. So for instance, if let's say Ruth is married to someone, God forbid. And when I say God forbid, I mean there's an instance for custody of a child. They'll have to consider if you have a job or you have a means of income that could sustain or take care of these children without the courts granting a maintenance order, insisting that your spouse will have to take care of the children even if the children are in your custody. They also have to.
So what you're saying in essence is when it comes to child custody, the interest of the court is in this child being where will be the best for him.
Oh, definitely.
It's having the interest of the child at heart.
Yes.
So that if a particular parent is interested in having custody but then unable to successfully take care of this child, it may be denied. Custody may be denied to
that's
that parent.
True. Yeah. Section 71 of the Matrimonial Causes Act provided for the paramount what is best looked at before a custody of a child would be granted to a particular parent. And what is best looked at by the provision of the law is that the best interest of the child is what is well upheld before granting custody of a child. So the statutory provision is just for the best interest of the child before a custody is granted to either of the parents. So if any of the parents will not be acting to the best interest of the child or do not have the capacity for the best interest of the child, your seeking for custody of the child could possibly be denied.
What if both parents are not in any state of mind that for them to fully take care of this child?
Then
they begin to look for
their relative can assume responsibility. Another question is, what if both parents are in a good state of mind and do not have any problem as regards to the welfare of the child? They will, either of them can take responsibility, can take custody, but then the both will have to be responsible for that child, and then visitation order will be granted to the parents who was not given custody of the child.
It's always a toss. The father will say no, he should have custody. The mother will say no, I'm the mother, I'm the wife, I'm this and that, I should. So in this instance that you're actually painting, when all of them seem to have equal opportunity, more like to take care of this, it really becomes a tough one.
Yeah, then one of them have to give a street proof as to him being a better parent to the child. But then the court would advise.
What happens? I mean, if the child is still 17 is still a child, but at least at that age it's really getting close to the child is reasonable enough and perhaps chooses and say, hey, I want to stay with my mom or my dad.
The courts would also allow that because the child had gotten to a point where he can make decision for himself, so he won't be forced
even without hitting 18.
Oh no, he won't be forced.
Okay.
But then he'll be advised because one of those situations they look at before custody of children are being given, especially when the children are teenagers, is the advantages of brotherhood and sisterhood. The advantages that could come out of them communing together as siblings.
Okay, we'll talk more on that after this commercial break. Stay with us on Human Rights Radio 101.1. We'll be right back.
Human Rights Radio. Ha na 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 na. Human Rights Radio. Human Rights Radio. Ha na 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 na. Redefining broadcasting. Merry Christmas, people, from all of us at Human Rights 101.1 FM. Redefining broadcasting.
Merry Christmas.
Redefining broadcasting.
Jolly, fa la 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 la. Hi, my name is Bucci, and I'm your host of Heartbeat. And like a deck of cards, I am your Jack of Hearts. I'm also a co-host on the stadium. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year from all of us here from Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. 'Tis the season to share that cheer, that love, spread that kindness. So whatever you do, always open up your hearts. From me to you, Merry Christmas. Where my chicken?
Merry Christmas.
Education and guidance to you, our listeners, on a broad array of issues raised by the modern legal landscape, absolutely free on Probono Chambers, airing on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
Thank you for joining us. We're still here on Probono Chambers on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and we're still talking on parenting and child custody. Well, before we went to that break, Barrister Dana was about to tell us more on brotherhood, sisterhood of siblings. Now, I mean, we've been talking about a child. Now, what if there are children? I mean, it's not just one child. Is it possible that while giving this custody, that these children could be separated? What are the things that perhaps the court looks at before it takes such steps?
It's possible they could be separated, but then it's usually advisable they are not separated because of brotherhood and sisterhood advantages, so that the children would stick together with one parent and they both cater for the children. However, if they are teenagers and make their own decisions themselves, then the court will not force them to be together.
Okay.
So the instances they will look at is how tender these children are. So if they are very young, the general rule is that they will have to be with their mother until they get to a particular age where they can actually decide to want to be with either their mother or their father, or either ways, as the case may be. So the age of the children will be considered, and the gender of the children is also considered.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you mean? I mean,
If
is it the same with what you said about the Yoruba law that automatically the husband takes the male child and then the woman takes the female child?
Exactly. But then the gender, it's considered when they are also teenagers, where there's a need for the girl child or the girl children to be with their mother for proper guidance as teenagers. As teenagers, a lot happens to you as a child, and a lot of things get to change in your body. And if you live with your father as a female child, you might likely not be able to express yourself as much as you would do with your mother. So things like that are considered even for the male children. It's preferable they stay with their father, especially when he's sane and doesn't cut across those instances I mentioned, would possibly make him not get custody of the children. So it might be advisable for him to stay with the male children or to have custody over the male children as they are growing up. Let's say at the age of 14, it's possible they will be given advantages of custody with their separate for the children of especially in separation of the children. Yes.
Well, another thing that comes to mind, I mean, there has to be a reason for divorce in the first place. Now, if the divorce came about as a result of domestic violence and all that, will that be an automatic ticket to the one who has been, the one at the receiving end? I mean, in the relationship, will that mean that the person who's been perpetrating this domestic violence will automatically be out of the picture when it comes to child custody?
Well, the case is for every matter that goes to the courts, there should be proof of such issue or such matter. And then where there's an issue of domestic violence or abuse on any part of the spouses which had led to divorce, and it's probably proven that that person is abusive or is the violent one in the relationship, then the custody of the child will have to be given to the parents that is not abusive or violent in the relationship. However, the both parents are responsible for the well-being of the children, so they will have to cater for the children equally. Exactly. But then where either of the parents is taken to court for divorce on the basis of adulterous acts or adulterous nature, it does not guarantee that whoever is not found guilty of adultery would take custody of the child. Is in the position of the court to decide who can take custody of the child, except where such adulterous acts of the spouse or the other parents, it's going to endanger the life of the child or not be to the well-being of the child. Then it could possibly pose.
Because if it's a lifestyle issue problem and it becomes something that the children will be exposed to, I'm sure the court will not want that for them as well.
And where a parent is found to be always in disappearance without notice, that parent will not be given custody of the child. Some parents just go out of the scene for a while and reappear anytime they want. That is a disqualification for you to assume a custody of a child. So if you're out there and you're used to that, please retrace your steps and
all right. So the parent should be such that will have time for the children.
Exactly. Yes, that's true.
Okay, if you're joining us on the program just now and you're listening, you want to participate, you want to ask questions that's related to what we're discussing, feel free to do that. If your questions are totally different, but then of legal issues, feel free to do that as well. It's Probono Chambers, and we offer all kinds of legal professional advice for you. You can call the number 081-8999-1011 to ask your questions and be a part of the conversation this morning. 081-8999-1011. It's Probono Chambers on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and I've been speaking with our in-house barrister Adana today on parenting and child custody. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. What's your name?
My name is Ignatius.
All right, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm calling from Nesawa.
All right.
I want to commend you people for the good work you're doing in human rights. I've been following your programs and it's been very, very interesting.
Thank you.
So, and I will like to commend the people and pray that the Almighty God will continue to strengthen you.
Amen.
Guys, and I have a question. It's a personal question. So I've called one time ago
Okay.
to ask about the same question, and an answer was given to me. But when I went down to make inquiries about, I worked with the company and they did not pay me. I have my employment letter. I worked for them for like 5 months and they paid just one, and they did not pay. So the last time I called, you told me I was like, I can file suit against the company so that they will pay me.
Yeah.
But when I made inquiry, I get to know that even our director is in EFCC custody. They were arrested him because the business he's doing is it's kind of a financial company that people do investment in his hand, and when the company closed down, the whole thing went like that, and so many people even invested were after him. He did not pay salary and invested, he did not pay their capital, and neither did he pay their interest. So everybody was just on his neck. But right now, I get to know that he's under the difficulty. What can I do so that I'll be able to get my salary? That's the question I want to ask.
So you said you've done your investigations and he's owing other people and he was arrested?
Hello?
Yes, you said you have done your investigations and he's still owing other people and he's arrested?
Yes, I've done investigation. I get to know that he's under the custody of the EFCC.
Oh.
They arrested him because of people's investment and all that, and interest that did not pay.
Okay. So if you have to at all,
What next?
yes, can you hear me?
No, I'm not hearing. Let me just drop my thing to you.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. So if he has to make his claims now that the director is under the custody of EFCC, I earlier told him he's suing not the director, he's suing the company itself.
Okay.
So whoever it's part of that company will have to pay him his money. However, he needs to have the necessary documents that would give him better claims in the law courts.
But how can this really happen? I think if it's the same person, like the company folded or something, like after that time also. And
even if the company folded.
So if it folded, if it's no longer existing.
That's what I'm saying. As in, even if the company is folded, I can imagine who will bear responsibility right now.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a very, very hard
But then he's under
case.
EFCC custody, he said, since obviously he wasn't the only one
that is being
was
owed.
swindled. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I don't know if this is a lost game.
Perhaps he should just
he has to
follow the story and see how it. I mean,
exactly.
maybe someday he'll be released and.
And then he has to pursue the matter in courts. However, he can just find a better livelihood. That is just a better advice, because you don't know how long he's going to be with the EFCC, and I'm sure you're not aware of what had made the company fold. He doesn't really have
maybe
the
there's even
facts.
more. Yeah.
Maybe there's even more to this issue. So whatever your salary is, you should have commenced this action before getting to 5 months. So the advice I'm giving to anybody out there, if you're in a place you're working and you're not paid after at max 2 months, you should pack your things and leave. Don't wait for 5 months. It's a long time to waste your time and resources.
Yeah, he did 5 months, they paid him 1, so they owe him 4 months.
That is a long time. So
okay,
I pray he gets justice.
we pray so. Hello?
Hello?
Please turn off your radio.
Yes, I'm far from it now.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Martha. I'm calling from Sasha.
Martha.
Yes.
All right, go ahead, please.
Yes. When you were talking about parenting, you try to define parenting that it's not all about biological parents. So please, I want you to kindly define parenting for me. Because when you said it's not all about biological parents, I don't understand. It's not really very clear to me. What can we now say is parenting? Can you please define it briefly?
So parenting is the process of promoting and supporting the physical, intellectual, social, development of a child from infancy to adulthood. Do you understand? So it doesn't mean that you must be biologically attached to that child to assume that responsibility as a parent. So the child might not be your biological child.
Okay.
Do you now understand?
Hello?
Hello, Martha?
Okay, I'm sure she got her answer. So you don't have to be the person that naturally has given birth to this person. As long as you are a guardian, you are the person the child looks up to, comes to with all problems, questions from school,
included
and everything.
Intellectual, social, physical, whatever it is that concerns the development of that child.
Okay. Hello?
Hello?
Good morning. Welcome to the program. What's your name?
My name is Apollos.
All right, Apollos, we're with you.
I have a complaint I want to ask. We're talking about the child. I have a brother that married a wife, and the wife gave birth to him. He trained the child for like 15 years. After 15 years, the wife now told him he's not the father.
Okay.
What will we do about that?
So what he should do about that is to go and have a DNA test done first to certify if he's the father of the child. And then, yes, if he does that, then you guys can take it from there to either go to the courts to assume custody of the child. The wife she doesn't have any rights to want to, take that child away from the husband or deny the child. If she has made him take responsibility under forceful pretense, I'm sure he is not even aware that the wife would wake up one day and say the child is not his. So first they should go and do a DNA test before they can start establishing the case.
What if it is coming from the biological father? The biological father just realized that, you had a son who is now 15 and he's like, woman, I want my child. Then at that point, I mean, the one who actually raised him cannot really have a hold on him, can he?
He can't have a hold on him, but then he has parented this child for a period of time. The law is not unjust, it's very fair.
Okay.
So they have to go to the customary law courts, wherever they are located, or they go to the high courts for the custody of this child to be well established. Thank God the child is 15, so the child would decide, or the courts would decide on behalf of the child where the child would go concerning this incident.
All right then. Fair enough, like you said. 08189991011 is the number to call. If you want to be a part of the conversation, call this number and ask your questions, or give your own thoughts on the topic parenting and child
custody.
I don't know what the problem is with that word. And child custody. If you want to make your own contributions as to that, feel free to do that. If you have other legal questions that you have in mind to also ask, feel free to do that. It's Probono, and we provide free legal advice for you right here on the show. 08189991011 is the number to call. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. Your name is?
My name is Joel.
All right, Joel.
Yes, I'm calling from Dubai.
Okay, we're listening.
Yeah, I want to just report a case of missing.
You want to do what?
I want to report a missing child. Like a
missing child.
Where is that?
Yeah.
Have you reported to the nearest police station?
Yes, I have done that.
Since when did this child get missing?
Sorry?
Since when did this child get missing?
It we get news on Friday on our way to school. She's schooling at Junior Secondary School later.
So
by the airport road.
what has the police
So she
said?
went. Sorry?
What has the police said so far?
The police says they will take the necessary measures to start the investigation. I didn't get anything from them up to now.
All right. Thanks for reporting.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for reporting.
Okay, well, let's do hope that at the end of the day, the
The child is
police,
found.
yes, will be able to
Yeah,
get a
find
hold
the
on her.
child.
All right, we have a few more minutes. You can still call in and let's hear your thoughts. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Probono Chambers. What's your name?
Okay, I am Raphael. I'm calling from Nigeria.
Raphael.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
There's something that happened that I need your advice.
Okay, well,
A
listen.
man got married to a lady, but the man packed things into the lady's house. And at the time, the house that the lady rented. But after the man started paying for the house, but the lady will always come and tell the compound people that the man said that he's the owner of the house and other stuff. Now, the relationship is to the how the lady is being the man, and the man started, and the man has really put me very out. So getting the man wants to take all those things out, to rent a place. That's the man is everything of the lady. I have to take his property from that.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll see if I can hear from you.
Okay. Well, I really didn't get all of the gist, but I think I heard two people packed in together. Were they married?
Doesn't sound like.
Yeah, that packed in together, a man and a woman, and she was paying the house rent, and the man assumed the house rent. And when they had misunderstanding, the man had to pack the things out of the house. The general advice I have to give, because I didn't get this quite straight.
Well, yeah, the call also just ended abruptly. So if you can call back, it will be fine.
Okay, so the general advice I have to give is that you should not pack in with somebody you are not married to. One, and if you're packing in with somebody who you are married to, and you guys are splitting the bill, then whatever problems you have concerning gossips, it's a domestic issue. You can settle it amongst yourself. Either call the persons who were part of your marriages, or meet your religious leaders for settlements, before you proceed to the law court for any form of separation. But then living with a woman you're not married to, it's a cause for a lot of issues arising. So as a young man, work hard, get your apartment. If you can't get yours, attach yourself to a man who has his for a period of time, but do not live with a woman.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I'm like lost, really. I wanted to say initially that I'm sure with time you tell us what the law, the provision of the law when it comes to
As to cohabitation.
yeah. I think
There's no provision of law for cohabitation.
really. Okay, perhaps that's why it's happening. Okay. I'm just taking a few minutes to process this whole thing right now.
Please do.
But let me just pick this call. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Welcome. What's your name? Please.
12.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, you're
I'm
calling
from
back.
Hala.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm so surprised that this kind of issue is really a polished discussion. I'm impressed with it. Yes, I'm impressed with it. But the only thing is, I cannot. This thing should be taken to rural area, because these issues happen in rural area, and it's very difficult to settle it among themselves. You understand? So it's a really genuine talk. I like the conversation, and it's really applauded too.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And I must commend the person in question who happens to take up all the whole issue that is coming up. I really want to say I'm thankful to that, because I noticed so many things happen, and so many issues like this happen in different areas, and there is no because they lack the connection to the solution. They take it the other way around, start fighting and quarreling, having issues. Like the issue of the DNA you just talked on. So many places will not want to do it because they are not used to it, and at the same time, nobody was able to call them into it. But the way she just explained it was really, really impressive and touching too. I must applaud her for that.
Oh,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
okay. Of course, that's our. That is our very own Barrister Adanda. Of course, this you're just seeing why she's here. Yeah. Okay. It's a good thing. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, it is still morning. Good morning to you. Welcome.
My name is Chino. I'm calling from Maraba.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I have an issue, a little bit issue. So I want to get advice from you.
Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. So I'm living in Maraba in one compound like that. So I'm here because there is one of my neighbors that packed into my place here. So I think after my room is his own room. So but he's married, but me, I'm not yet married. So but we are all the same height, the same body, everything. So there was a day we started making friends with him. We are together. So the next thing he told me that he's married for almost 5 years now, but he has not gotten issues. So that maybe I can assist him. So I said, okay, no problem. What kind of assistment did you want me to do? So he said, okay, maybe in the night like this, I will go close to his wife, and now maybe he will move out as he want to go and use his head. Then I will go. He will come to my room. Then I will go to his room. Then, but after everything, his wife is pregnant. He will pay me for it. Then we will negotiate on 150,000. So, but after the incident, let me cut it short. After the incident, then the wife got pregnant. Then he gave me 50,000 really. But the money balance now, he refused to give me. And now the wife said she has delivered. So now I said, should I go and count? And now I decided to go and claim my child from him. So I don't know what kind of advice you give me.
Okay.
Thank you for calling. This is way beyond me. First and foremost, the issue of child custody. If we were to address this incident that just happened, the way this child had come into being,
existence,
it's criminal. It's quite criminal. And if this guy and the other guy, they are caught by NAPTIP, this is a part of the issues that affects child abduction or child trafficking. Because the child was even sold before the child was brought forth. The child is used as a business. So him coming now to assume child custody, you cannot wrongfully come to law to get justice. He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. It's a matter that could possibly drag them to the police and to jail. So I'd advise him, for God's sake, to stop speaking about it. Because if he has to go to the courts or anywhere to claim the custody of this child, it's not like the custody of a child cannot be claimed. It can be claimed by either him, who is the father, or the mother. But the circumstances that surrounds it, it's very criminal. He might likely have to rot in jail, as well as the father, the foster father of the child, because they traded the child. And then the mother, it seems like she wasn't even aware of this whole situation.
How possible is it that she wouldn't know that this person she just slept with is not her husband?
She might be drugged. If you heard him very well, he said, they had a plan.
Yeah,
she might
he said
have
he
been
was
drugged.
going to just go out like he was going to pee.
So go to his room, and I'm sure they had a plan and they executed it, reasonably. If she has to sue them for what has happened, they might both have to just sleep in jail for the rest of their life, or for the period so prescribed by the position of the law. So, sir, if you're listening to me, stop speaking about it, because you don't have a right to trade any child in Nigeria. You have just done that. You even collected some amount of money. You do not have a right to do that.
As a matter of fact, I am speechless.
Exactly. And you should never do that again. I don't know you, but if the law should come after you, you might just be in a bigger trouble than you think you are right now, trying to collect more money for that child you just sold. That's all I have to say.
For humanity's sake, like he gave up a part of him for some amount of money.
And is a child. And
wow, really, speechless I am right now. But then that brings us to the end of the program for today. Really, it's Pro Bono. It's been Pro Bono Chambers on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and we have our in-house barrister Adanna here, and she's been doing a good job. Thank you very much for being on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll do this again tomorrow, but it's about time for us to leave the studio so we can make way for infomercial and some other of our programs coming your way right here. My name is Ruth, and I will see you tomorrow, God willing. Same time, same station.